Hi, this is Ari from Singapore. I'm a sales engineer with Solace. Today I'm going to talk about how EDA helps developers build innovations. Talking about innovations, here are a few examples. We're able to track cars in real time, shipping containers, even planes, and many others from IoT solutions. We are now able to react to sentiments on Twitter on our brand or our company as it happens as well. So doing real-time analytics. We can also detect fraud as transactions are being processed, pay food with our digital wallets or e-money or from your rideshare account, even subscription of printing instead of buying new printers, and many others innovations. We also should have heard about this quote that every company is now a software company. I pretty much believe this quote, and this means it's a fierce competition. It's winners takes all because there's not going to be a lot of second players of one new big company that's doing something like Facebook or like Instagram or like Twitter and many others. But would you want to go race one of those F1 cars with one of these? No offense to owners of this type of cars, but it's just not up to par with what the others have. But the problem is deploying a new feature feels like taking up one of the Jenga blocks and put it on top. It's such a delicate process and such a high risk that we're gonna crash the whole thing down. And on the launch day, users just came in rushing, and at the same time, everybody just start clicking stuff on your website or on your applications. Feels like a stampede. So what I'm talking about here is how we help the company as the developers to go faster and deploying or releasing new features, building new innovations without crashing too much or without crashing often. And no, I'm not talking about CI/CD or DevOps in this talk. I'm talking about how EDA increases resiliency of modern and growing systems to foster innovations. So how are we going to do that? So I have three takeaways for today's talk. The first one is that core business events are always needed by new systems. So the every new system should not need another 3 months point-to-point integration project or additional license or additional resource, additional servers just to have the same events that any existing system already have. Second one is to adopt choreography patterns instead of pure orchestrations. So this is not to say that we need to replace entirely orchestration with choreography. I'm saying to do a best of breed so we can combine some orchestration and some choreography where it fits. Third one is for high volume or bursty traffic, like spike of traffic. We should use event broker to shock absorb the traffic and also guarantee no message loss or no loss of request when we hit the limit of our backend systems. All right, so let's go through this one by one. The first one is about the core business events. So new initiatives needs the same data, the same events as the rest of the existing systems, right? So when you are a bank, you will always need the credit and debit transactions, card payments. And when you have new systems like anti-money laundering or big data, they will also require these events. So why do we need to keep on doing point-to-point integration for every single new initiatives? For e-commerce, for retails, you're going to talk about order creation, order cancellations, and how about the inventory, about the payments. It's all the same events. All these new systems, new channels will also talk about these events. They will also need these events. And for aviation sample, you have events like passenger check-in or maybe just booking request. So I call the first case the case of the sacred chamber of events. So what I'm talking about is the idea of whenever we need the events to go to another systems, which is integrations, we usually look at things like this gated arrow in the middle here with a dollar cost, which means is an effort, is a cost to be able to integrate or move that events from the core system to another systems. And when we have a new initiatives, we either have basically no connectivity at all to the new platforms. Like for example, we want to have a new SaaS subscription or a new SaaS service, and you don't have, basically there's no connectivity from your core legacy system to the cloud. Or you have the connectivity, you have the means, but the licensing is just going to be too much for you to bear. So I'm suggesting this fix called the case of the stream of events. The idea is that we do on ramping of the events from the core system to a stream, to an event broker. We do it once, and then the rest of the systems will basically subscribe or consume from that stream. So this means we can leverage the same events multiple times to systems anywhere. So anywhere as in this data center or another data center or even on the cloud. So this means new applications does not need to touch the core system. So this helps with the risk of deploying new system, the risk of uh, basically crashing another system down when we deploy our new systems, because now we basically don't touch the core systems. We basically come in and subscribe to the same events from the stream, and we work from there. All right, so that's the first case. And the next case is about the choreography pattern. Again, new initiatives usually means that the existing systems needs to be aware and adopt. They need to change. Like for you, for example, you have a new SaaS adoption or new big data system implemented, then the existing system will need to be changed or to be modified so that they feed the new system or they integrate with the new systems. So this usually cause problems because changing stuff is always a risk. And what if you also have new partner gateway onboarding? How much time, how much effort do you need to do this? You have a new web channel for your e-commerce, or you simply have an ad hoc marketing campaigns that just spend 2 months, but you want to be able to get a dashboard and get the events and then start doing your analytic campaigns analytics from that events. So this is what I call the case of the grand orchestrator. You have a single centralized service that acts as the brain that basically runs the whole flow. It's usually a sequence of blocking calls, sequence of API calls to your existing systems or maybe to your third-party partner systems. But sometimes you need to have some slow steps to be put aside or decoupled, or you need to offload some tasks to your newly acquired maybe machine learning service on the cloud. And wouldn't it be nice if those things can run in parallel, because they don't need to wait for each other to be completed, not like a sequence of calls like this. So this means adopting any new features usually ends up you need to take out the whole surface, do that small change you need, and then redeploy the whole stuff. So we do this a lot with SOA, with ESB, and this needs to change. So this is what I call the case of the best breed concert. You see, you still have the orchestrator on the side, but you also have this theme, this choreography uh, on the other side. So we mix this together. What we get from this is first a linear surface that handles the synchronous or the blocking part of the flow. So this is still done by a single brain orchestrator surface that handles the steps that needs to be done online, that you really need to know that it's successful before you go to the next step. So usually we use this a lot when we deal with the payment flow or accepting requests from end user into our systems. But then the other additional steps like auditing, logging, feeding your big data system, feeding your marketing campaign dashboard, that can be done later. That can be decoupled, and you can also offload that to the cloud. And then we choreograph for agility. So this means we enable new or changes of the flow by simply playing around with the event subscriptions, not necessarily taking the whole service and redeploying it. So this relies on something called smart routing of events. This is a bit technical, but what it means is basically you have one large stream of events, but you can have many subscribers subscribing to different types of events simply by telling the broker what kind of events does it need based on the topics. So topics can be a simple topic or very fine grained topics with multiple hierarchies. So then you can start doing this kind of filtering. When you say, I want to have just my specific campaign to analyze, maybe my iPhone 12 campaign. So I don't need to get all the events. I just need to get a few events, few specific events. And then with choreography, we can have agility to change stuff on the right side, not having to touch the entire system. So we can also then support future initiatives. So next year, another applications or another idea comes up. We need to do something with that particular event. Then we just kind of put it on top, or subscribe to the same event from the streams without having to change the publisher of the events in the first place. So that's the second case. The third case is about bursted traffic. So whether we like it or not, traffic will go up and down, and sometimes it will go very high. Maybe you have an offers that has an amazing uptake. Maybe you suddenly have many partners needs to be onboarded within a short amount of time. Or maybe just users being users do the request at the first minute. Maybe you have an offer that only applicable or available for the first 100 users, maybe like a flash sale or something. Or maybe on the last minute, like putting on a bet, and maybe some of your backend slowing down and cause pressure into your system, and then eventually might impact or might affect the other healthy applications as well. So I call this the case of the demanding customers. When the incoming traffic starts to increase rapidly, and then you hit the limit of your backend capacity, then you start seeing more and more delay or bigger response times, which eventually your systems, your front end system ran out of capacity to handle new incoming traffic because the current one is still waiting for the response from the backend. What you see then is request timeout, connection reviews, loading screen, all that kind of stuff, which basically result in a poor customer experience. So what if we can have this, what I call the case of advocating customers? We basically put event broker in the middle. This act as a shock absorber. So whenever there's a spike of traffic or increase of traffic, all of a sudden, we take those requests, but we still feed the backend just as they're just within their limits. So we deal with their capacity. This will mean we have a queue build up in the event broker, which is fine because we also guarantee that those events will not be lost. This also simplify your front end or your business logic, because once you get an acknowledgement from the event broker that the request has been queued, then you're good to go. You don't need to wait. You don't need to worry about it, because we will have a way to queue the request or even retry the request if it's not successful on the first attempt. Or we can also have an incident automatically reported if after a specific amount of retry we still not able to process that. So we end up avoiding this loading screen or request timeout or connection rejected in the front end, and we get a happy users. So we hope that these users will start uh, telling the nice experience with our system to their friends and become our advocating customers. And with that, that is my talk, and I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to reach me out at my Twitter handle in case you have any further questions or just want to have a chat. Thank you.